Stalwart Scottish actor James Cosmo is a striking presence on the screen, usually playing grim warrior types in everything from Highlander and Braveheart to Troy and Game of Thrones. He was one of the few actors who wasn't dwarfed by the enormous ice wall. But he's not your first call for a romantic lead, which he sort of is in My Sailor, My Love.
Dad? There you are. If you're having a hard time managing, Dad, we could get someone in. A housekeeper.
I say he's sort of romantic lead, which, if you look at the blueprint, is clearly what retired Sea Captain Howard is meant to be. He's the one who's given up on life, who meets cute, who finds love and so on. But the story opens and closes on his daughter Grace, played by Irish actor Catherine Walker.
I'm stretched to breaking point as it is. I have my father to worry about. I have this useless bloody therapy I go to week after week.
Grace is married, an overworked nurse who still has to look after her difficult father. He takes a lot of looking after. He just sits around while his house goes to rack and ruin. So Grace decides to get in help.
Just to warn you, my father can be a little bit tricky.
How much is she paying you?
400.
I'll give you 5. If you never darken my door again.
She brings in the quietly capable Annie, who cooks, cleans, does everything right for Howard and is treated with contempt, out of sheer cussedness it seems. But if Howard expects Annie to stand up to him, he's wrong. She just quits on the spot. And then, well, this is the meet cute I was talking about. Howard discovers that Annie, out of her own pocket, has taken his old captain's suit to be dry cleaned.
I was just looking for Annie.
I am nobody's fool.
I just came to apologise and ask you to come back.
Howard feels instantly guilty, buys a bunch of flowers and makes it up with Annie, and it seems that's all it takes. Now, I have no objection to the pair initially not hitting it off and then somehow getting together. Hollywood was built on this plot, but I do think a little more work could have gone into it than this.
There we are.
You and Howard are friends, right?
That's right.
But you work for him.
Can I tell you a secret? I'm actually quite enjoying myself.
But now daughter Grace starts to suffer because after all the years she put in looking after her ungrateful dad, he's turned not just to the lovely Annie, another Irish actress Brid Brennan, but to her entire lovable family. Poor Grace.
So, he didn't tell you I was coming?
I forgot.
Oh, you forgot. What's your secret?
I suppose I just take him as I find him.
And much as we'd like this to be a simple hallmark tale of Howard and Annie finding love late in life, James Cosmo is rather good as the sailor home from the sea. There are suddenly unnerving skeletons in his closet and more disasters on the horizon for poor Grace.
Dear Annie, can't you see what's happening here? Dad? His whole life has been about making sure that all of his needs were met.
Grace!
Starts to feel like a stranger.
The director and writers of My Sailor, My Love are Scandinavian Finnish, which possibly explains the shifts in tone, an equal blend of romance with bleak tragedy, so tightly woven they can't be separated.
Bangles and all sorts of little foofy bits going on.
They're not your girls, Dad. I'm your girl.
We do see how constricted Howard feels by the demands of his daughter and how, while she thinks she's trying to help, everything she does only makes him kick his heels in. But we can also see that Howard is far nicer to his new made-up family than he's been to Grace in years.
He may tell you he loves you, Annie, but there's only one person he cares about.
Jesus, Mum.
I'm sick of this. To be constantly punished for caring for others.
That's enough!
My Sailor, My Love has set itself an almost impossible task. On the one hand, we want Howard and Annie to find love at the end of their lives, but we also wanted to see how much Grace has given up for him, and for Grace herself to be able to move on maybe. Sadly, in life and in Irish Scandinavian movies, you can't have everything. And much as I wanted to like Howard and Annie, I found myself firmly in Team Grace. Whether you believe her sort of happy ending is probably a test of which side of the fence you're on.
If you care in any way, I need you to leave.
What we have here is not going to happen again.
He doesn't always know what's best for him.